excuse the mess of the bench if you happen to catch a glimpse of it. A lot of my customers, clients are coming in off the road from different tours that they've been on, and it's time to tune up their instruments again, get them set up. The bass we're working on today belongs to Rob, the bass player for Vanity Strikes. You should definitely go check them out. I'll put a link down below. Like Rob's band, a lot of bands are tuning lower and lower. And like I said in my article, the lower you go, chances are you're going to end up needing thicker strings. Factory specs are usually, the nut specs are usually set up for 9 and 10 gauge strings only. Unless, of course, you're having a guitar custom made for you. Rob currently is using strings that are about a 0.125 thick at the thickest slot, and that's how wide the gap is on his nut on his nut slot currently. Let's see here. Here's his old string. Okay, and that's his old string. Let me see if I can do this. This is the thickness of his new high E string, I have guitar on the brain, of his new E string. It's almost double the thickness of his old string. That being said, if we look at the nut, right under the nut, I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick this up or not, there's a gap between the string and the bed of that nut slot. That's not going to work, because as we add tension, it's either going to snap that nut slot and he'll need a new nut, or it's going to bind so tight in there that he'll never properly tune the bass. Just like if you guys are starting to tune lower to the point where you need to go heavier than a 10 gauge string, you're going to need to widen your nut slots so that your strings don't bind in the nut. And I'm going to show you how to do that yourself, just using common tools that you might have in your home, or even if you had to go out and buy them, you might be getting ready to spend $5 to hook yourself up. If you don't think you can do it, definitely go to a tech. There's no shame in it. Rob's a busy guy. I'm sure he could do this on his own, but I appreciate his business. So what I found was, I found a drill bit that's actually the same thickness as his new string. And what I'm going to do is, since I honestly don't have a file thick enough for that string, which I'm sure the common person wouldn't have a file thick enough to file that nut either. So what I'm going to do is take some 320 sandpaper, and I'm just going to wrap the shaft part of the drill bit. Now this is, like I said, this is exactly the same thickness as his string. So once I start to sand, as soon as this hits the bottom of the bed, I know that that nut slot is going to be thick enough to hold that string. So what I'm doing is, I'm just going to go slow, and I'm going to keep checking to see when that's going to seat. Now remember, we're just widening the slot. We don't want to cut down. We don't want to make this deeper. We just want to widen the slot. Now the best thing to do is always go at an angle. You don't want to be you don't want an angle going towards the fretboard. You actually want this angle to go back towards the tuning pegs. And then, let's see. So it's not going to take much. This nut itself is bone. So bone takes a little bit longer than like plastic. Just remember to always check your work. Go slow. It's always easier to take out more material than it is to try to put it back. Okay, we are almost there. I'm just going to clean up the edges a little. Okay, there we go. Oh. You want to try to smooth out any sharp edges that can catch the windings of your string. Obviously, that's if you're a guitar player. 3 of your strings you're going to have to worry about. Well, 3 or 4 of your strings you're going to have to worry about the windings once you get up to the B and E. Sometimes the G, if it's not wound, don't have to worry about it as much. However, well, not however, but okay. So at this point, I'm going to take the new string and I'm going to check it for fit. Okay, let's see. And I'll try to get it in there. That is, it's shadowing out, but that's a nice fit. It's not too loose or sloppy, yet it's not too tight where it's going to bind. It's actually, it's a nice fit. So what I did with this E string, I'm going to go ahead and do with the remaining 5 strings. Okay, so there we have it. They have been fitted. That is one thick string. Now, the one other thing I want to add is once you hit a certain thickness, depending on your playing style, if you're playing hard or if you're a soft picker, you're going to need to raise your action. You might have to have a neck adjustment. But what I would do first is get the guitar tuned up to pitch. Check your action. If your action is already pulling up, chances are it's a neck adjustment. If your action is fine, but you're buzzing, it's going to be a bridge adjustment. So I'm going to get him tuned up to pitch. I already have a feeling I'm going to have to adjust his saddle height. Anyway, till next time. Peace.